Hi guys, welcome back to the Hangout. It's Sid, and if you love music as much as I do, well, this is the perfect podcast for you. Today, I'm so excited. We've got a talented bassist from Toronto, and if you've been to a Shawn Mendes concert or any of his shows, you've probably seen him jamming on stage left. We've got Dave Haskett on today's episode of the Hangout. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Props for getting the stage left, stage right thing correct, because that's always confusing, even to me.
Yeah. Is there a reason why like the bassist is always on the stage left?
I don't know. Are they?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like every single time I've gone to like a Shawn show, you're always on the left.
That's true. I'm not sure if it's stage left specifically, but bass players always like tend to get paired up with the drummer because we're best friends musically and in real life. So
amazing. Is there a reason with that? Like, I'm not super into like the bass world, so I don't know. You want to educate me on that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like the bass and drums sort of have a pretty special relationship in a band, I guess, in terms of sort of just laying the foundation like of the groove. Like bass players really lock in with what the kick drum is doing, and sort of fit into the pattern of whatever the drums are playing. I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this, but basically, like, obviously everybody needs to listen to the drummer, of course, but I feel like bass players and drummers sort of have like this thing, like I'll be playing the same thing on the bass that the drummer's playing on his kick drum. So it's important for us to be able to like, look at each other and also, hear each other really well to sort of lock in that way.
With the relationship with your drummer, Mike was telling me that when you guys were doing quarantine and everything, traveling this time around, you guys were spending way too much time together, maybe more time than you wanted together, and you learned a whole bunch of things. You mentioned that you have a thing for peppermint tea in the evenings.
Yep.
What sort of things have you learned about your band members, maybe that you didn't know before after spending so much time with them?
Wow. Okay. Are they going to listen to this? Are they going to be upset?
Maybe. I don't know.
That's up to them. What have I learned about my band members? I don't know. Nothing comes to mind. Mike he's an excellent cook. Mike was the sort of like the steak guy when we were, he probably told you about this. We were all living together in this house in LA for like a month. And which is not usual. Usually we stay in a hotel and like we each have our own room. So we kind of get our time and our space. But because of the quarantine situation, we were in this super tight bubble. So the idea was we weren't staying in a hotel, we were staying at an Airbnb in this big house. So yeah, the four of us were like roommates for a month and we weren't allowed to leave the house. Like, it's not like we could go out and go to like a restaurant because like that's not even really an option, nor would I want to. So it was really close quarters for a long time. Yeah, so Mike was the steak guy. Mike cooked some delicious steaks for us. What else? Zubin just like stays up all night and is on his laptop and is constantly working. And Eddie just practices piano and is, the only one who's like actually working hard when the rest of us are like relaxing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How has it been for you kind of adjusting to the COVID lifestyle? Because you guys have been on the road for like 5-6 years straight now. And so having all this time alone, how have you been adjusting to it all?
Well, I'm definitely adjusted now because it's been quite a while. The process of it, of course, was weird. I mean, yeah, like you said, we spent so much time away from home, and then all of a sudden it's like you're home and you're not going anywhere. Apart from, that we did go out to LA last year a bit, but other than that, it's obviously been pretty quiet. So, I mean, it hasn't been too hard for me. Obviously there are a lot of parts of it that I miss, the traveling and just hanging out with the band and the crew and all those people who are my really good friends. But also I'm really sort of appreciating and enjoying the fact that I'm sort of stuck at home. I love being at home, of course, and seeing family and everything like that. So it hasn't been too bad for me. I'm sort of definitely trying to see the silver lining and enjoy it because, I mean, I'm sure it's only gonna be a matter of time before we're back out there. So
totally. Have you been able to practice and keep your like keep your stamina with playing the bass over this time?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've let it slide here and there. Of course. I mean, when there's no pressure to perform every night or every couple nights, playing bass has not always been top of mind for me, I'll admit it, over the last year and a half, whatever, however long it's been. But I'm trying to keep on top of music in general. Aside from just practicing bass, I'm trying to sort of work on some other skills, like I'm trying to work a lot on like production and mixing skills, and just, sort of like working on my own music, like for fun, and, just like playing guitar and singing and trying to just, continue trying to be a well-rounded musician, I guess.
That's amazing. Yeah, what sort of instruments do you play? Like, I want to talk about your background and how you kind of got into bass.
Sure, yeah. I mean, right now, my answer would be I play bass. That's sort of the only thing that I do, professionally. But I definitely dabble in a bunch of stuff. I started off playing tenor sax, actually, when I was around 11 years old. I started taking lessons. And I played sax for like quite a while, like 10, 11 years or something like that. And I was playing bass at the same time, so I started sax when I was like 11, and then I started electric bass when I was like 13, and I was kind of keeping up with both of them, and then eventually came to a point where I was going to school. I was going to go to Humber College here in Toronto for the music program, and I sort of had to make a decision. And I remember talking to my saxophone teacher, actually, and I was like, like, I really want to go to Humber. Like, I want to do music. Like, I know that this is like the thing that I really want to do with my life. And I was like, but I'm not sure if I should go with the sax or go with the bass. And she was like, well, she's like, bass players probably get a lot more gigs. And that turned out to be really good advice.
Nice.
So yeah, at that point, I sort of put down the sax, and it's I mean, I sold it like to a friend. Like I would not be able to do anything on it now. But I mean, we got all kinds of instruments here at home, so I try to mess around. I dabble on keys and on guitar, stuff like that. My wife's also a really great singer. She's like a vocal teacher, so I'm constantly like, we're just constantly like singing around the house and like just messing around or whatever. And she'll be like, like, you should, like, if you place it here, like, it's easier to get the pitch right.
That's amazing.
She helps me out.
You guys actually met an old band that you guys used to do, Flat Rock, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, sorry. I mean, just to clarify, we actually didn't meet in the band. We met.
Okay.
We both went to school.
Nice.
We both went to Humber. Yeah, and we met there. And then maybe while we were still students there, or maybe just after that, we were in the band together.
That's so cool. What was it like getting to work on that project before any of the Shawn Mendes stuff?
It was great. It was amazing. It was one of the most fun and like fulfilling like original projects I've been a part of, because I was in it with my girlfriend, my now wife, but also like the other two guys in the band were also like some of our best friends. So it was just a hang, it was just like good times, and the music was awesome, and we really like spent countless hours just like obsessing over like the details of the music, which is what I love to do. So yeah, I mean, it was great. It was really fun, and we went on some fun like van tours around Canada and stuff like that, and sort of put in the hours, I guess, in a way.
That's amazing. Were you playing the upright bass during that time? Or
I was,
was it still electric?
Not in that band. In that band, I always played electric bass, but I was playing upright, in other projects at the same time. Yeah, I played quite a lot of upright, especially in my university days, and like sort of a few years after that. Now it's like kind of collecting dust, but.
What's the, like, I guess, learning process between the two? Because obviously the upright's up here and then your electric's down here. Is there a different sort of strategy with playing those two different instruments?
Yeah, very much so. I don't know how in depth you want me to get here, but basically, like, they're set up exactly the same way. Like, like the bass has frets, right? So you put your finger on the first fret and you get this note. And if you put your finger on the second fret, you get a different note, a semitone higher. So the upright is set up the exact same way, but it doesn't have frets. It's just like one smooth piece of wood. And you sort of need to know, you need to just like via muscle memory, know where all those positions are. So if you want to play a C, you need to be like, okay, my finger goes like here. And just, you need to sort of just put a lot of time into creating the muscle memory to be able to do that. So it's more complicated in that way because you can run into a lot of tuning issues, of course. And then also the scale of it is really different. So like, you know, the first fret, like the first position will be like this big, and then the second one's only this big, and then they can they gradually get smaller. Yeah, so it's like a whole thing. It's like a really silly instrument in a lot of ways. It's like, it's so physically demanding, and it's so like physically large that like also getting it anywhere is just such a huge pain. So
what was your initial decision behind choosing the bass as your instrument?
I think that I simply thought it was cool. I think I'm like one of the rarer bass players who was a bass player first, not like a guitar player who was forced into it. Because that's the story you hear a lot, is that like, you know, 4 friends form a band and 2 of them play guitar, and then at some point they're like, someone's got to play bass. Like you're a worse guitar player, you got to do it. That's sort of like the classic scenario. But that didn't happen to me. Sorry.
That's good on your end then.
I mean, I guess either way, it doesn't matter. But I think I was just really drawn to bass. I don't know. I really loved the Chili Peppers, and I just loved Flea. Like everything about him, I just thought was so cool, especially the things that he was doing on the bass. Nice. So he was like a huge influence for me. And I don't know. Yeah, I told my dad, I was like, I want to learn bass, and he was like, yeah, I guess. And he was cool enough to get me like a cheapo electric bass and amp for my birthday. And yeah, from there, I just never stopped.
That's amazing. Can you talk a bit about the like audition process for joining Shawn's band and how that kind of all came together?
Sure, yeah. So what happened? I got a phone call. This was in June of 2015. I got a phone call from Dan Cantor, who at the time was Justin Bieber's musical director, who now he does like Julia Michaels and like ton of stuff. He's amazing, a Canadian legend. So he called me and he was like, hey, this was on, I think it was like a Saturday or maybe a Monday. And he was like, hey, we need a bass player to play with Shawn Mendes at the MMVAs. It's this Sunday. Do you want to, like, are you available? And I was like, yeah, sure, I could do that. Yeah, man, no problem. And meanwhile, like inside, I'm like freaking out because I'd never played on TV. I'd never played with an artist sort of at that level before. So this was all very new and very frightening to me. But I was like, yeah, man, yeah, cool. Sure, I'd love to come audition. So I cleared my schedule. I think I at that time I was playing with like a bunch of different bands, and I had like a good week. Like I had like 5 gigs or something. So I cleared my schedule. I subbed out of all the gigs because he was like, you need to be available all week. So first I cleared my schedule to make sure that I could do it. And then, yeah, I went to the audition and it was Dan and Zubin there in the room. And then me like showing up with my little bass case and opening it up. I remember they made fun of me because I took out a cloth and I like wiped down my bass. Like I wiped sort of like whatever like dust or like sweat residue was on it. And they were kind of like, oh, like polishing it off, like as if that's going to help you. So yeah. And then I don't know, I had to learn a couple of Shawn's tunes and I played them for them and we talked a while, and then they called me the next day and we're like, all right, cool. Like we'll see you on Sunday. You're doing the MMVAs. So yeah, it was a very, very exciting time for me.
What was it like? Because the MMVAs for Canadians is kind of like a big deal. What was Absolutely. It like getting to be a part of that? Because yeah, like you said, you hadn't done TV before.
It was really cool. I mean, I guess I kind of really got thrown into the deep end. I mean, some of the other guys in the band have been doing these sort of artist gigs like for a while, or they had been doing them for a while before doing the MMVs with Shawn. So I don't know, maybe they felt a little bit more prepared for it than I did, but I got thrown into the deep end, I think, a little bit. And it was, I don't know, it was super, super exciting. You know, I remember just like being backstage and like seeing all these like, you know, all these like Canadian celebs, and I was like, oh man, like I'm in here too. And then the performance is just like a blur. I literally almost don't remember being on stage. I remember them lifting up that there's like the big screen that hides everybody, and then they open it up. And
Yeah.
they're like Shawn Mendes, and then it, you know, it reveals the stage. And I just remember like looking at all the people there, and I was like, oh boy.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it was an awesome moment.
That's amazing. Do you find that like a lot of your experiences and memories being on the road are all kind of blurry because it happens, or it seems like it happens so fast?
That's an interesting question. I mean, not in every case. I mean, I definitely have some very distinct memories of certain shows and certain places and meals and whatever experiences, you know. But I
Yeah,
guess, yeah, you're right. Like when you think about it, like I'm sure like 80% of it I just don't remember.
that's crazy.
Yeah, probably.
What do you think was one of like the most out of the body experiences for you in the past few years?
Hmm. Um, the Rogers Center show for sure. Yeah, that's got to be the one. That was, I mean, that was just the, you know, one of the greatest things I've ever done. Like
Yeah.
musically, the greatest thing that I've ever done. Just playing that hometown show, like in the stadium, and like just the size of it and the way it felt was extremely surreal. Yeah, I still think about that.
Did you have like friends and family and like maybe old school teachers come and watch the show and tell you like
I wish
message you?
I wish I had some old school teachers. No, but yeah, like friends and family for sure. And just having, you know, those people there with you at that time is the best.
What was it like getting to watch it all back? Because the Netflix, the live in concert dropped last November. What
Right.
was it like getting to kind of relive all those memories?
It was so good. It was so fun. I mean, I've watched it a couple times. I watched it with the band, and then I watched it here at home too. But like, it was awesome. And I was like very like, I was very shamelessly like being like, yeah, like this is like we sound sick. Like I look great. Like oh yeah, I played that. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
think I really just like let myself sort of just like soak it in and be like, I just want to relive this moment and enjoy it so much because yeah, it's such a cool like time capsule of that moment.
It's crazy. I was watching back at all of it and I was like, whoa, there's so many people in this stadium. Like it doesn't seem normal anymore for that to even
Right.
be a thing. Like
Well,
I don't
that's
know
for sure. Yeah.
when I don't know when everything's gonna go back to normal, but we all definitely want to go back to that sort of lifestyle eventually.
Hmm.
You did a tech rundown with gear rundown for like setting up your whole entire tech setup. How did you self-teach yourself that? Is it by trial and error? How did you learn all of those specific like setups and tech tools and equipment?
Well, the truth is, if I was left by myself to set up all my gear, I would screw it up.
Oh man.
I wouldn't know how to do it because it's really complicated, and we have some really amazing techs who sort of handle that world
Mm-hmm.
on our behalf. So, you know, I mean, I understand how the rig works, and it is pretty complicated. I mean, especially a lot more so than what I had 5 years ago. But yeah, I wouldn't know how to I wouldn't know how to set it up by myself. But there are people who do, and they do like the best job. We have like amazing crew working with us. So you know, I'm really like privileged in that way that I'm at the point where I don't have to know how to set up my pedal board. That's definitely that's a huge like musician like win when you
Nice.
yeah.
Also while on tour, you are you playing the synth at the same time? Is that what the keyboard on the side?
Yeah.
So you kind of like dabbling with multi instruments. What's that sort of like?
It's really fun for me. It's great. You know, yeah, what I'm doing is basically like just playing synth bass. So I'm not playing anything that like our keyboard player Eddie would play all the sort of, you know, high piano and synth kind of stuff. And what I'm doing is like bass parts, but on on the keyboard. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's really fun. It like feels really satisfying to just like press a button and it's like and like fill the entire arena with like rich, beautiful
Yeah.
bass. So I really like it. Yeah, it's something that I've put quite a bit of work into over the past couple of years to make sure that I can do that at like a high level on stage. Yeah, it's been a really cool thing to sort of add into the mix, I think.
What does your day-to-day sort of look like when you're on the road?
Well, it depends. Like, I mean, if it's a show day, the main like besides the show itself, the main big thing for us is probably like sound check. So we'll get an hour or hour and a half, whatever, to go on stage and just sort of get a feel for the room, and like how things sound. Because although we are on in-ear monitors, the goal is for it to sound exactly the same every day on these things, which it does because we have the same mix and stuff like that. But like the room can actually make a big difference, like depending on the size of the room, because you're still hearing all that ambient noise like through the microphones. Getting comfortable with the feeling and the sound of the room is like a big part of the day, I guess, for us, and making sure that we're just comfortable and we can like play to the best of our ability. And especially for Shawn, because like singing like is such a particular thing, in terms of like being comfortable with where your vocals sitting in the mix and the room ambience and stuff like that. That doesn't answer your question at all. I just started talking about room ambience. You asked about a day-to-day. So but yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, like sound check is a big one, and then a good part of the day is also just sort of making sure that we are mentally and physically happy and ready for the show. So I like to like do some exercise, eat some good food, have a couple coffees, just like make sure I'm like in good shape.
Nice. At the beginning of a show, the crowd goes wild, the lights go down. What's running through your head right before everything hits?
Does my hair look good? Is my gear gonna like malfunction? Did I go to the bathroom before the show? Am I gonna have to go to the bathroom during the show? Like, probably, like, honestly, probably silly stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
Not like big picture things like let's have a killing show, which is what I probably should be. But no, but I'm kind of joking. But also, like, I do try to get into that mindset of like just like take a deep breath, be like, okay, there's a lot of people here, like it's all good. Just gotta do the job, make it musical. That's always what I'm trying to think, especially in a year like 2019 where we played 104 105 shows, the same show over and over and over. There's always the risk of going into sort of autopilot, because it comes to the point where you get to show 83 that you could just play it with your eyes closed, and you don't even have to think about the notes that you're playing on your instrument anymore, because it's so second nature. So I think that the one thing that I try to think about is just making it musical. So like, don't just play the notes, but like really think about playing everything as musically as possible, and gel with your bandmates and try to just make it feel great. So that's what I try to think about.
Do you still get nervous when you're on stage? Does that still happen?
It does sometimes. It kind of depends. It depends on the depends on the situation. I think the thing that makes me the most nervous is live TV. Like SNL, for example, is super nerve-wracking because you're like, I don't know how many people watch SNL, maybe millions. And it sort of becomes it becomes permanent, because that performance is then going to be on YouTube and on whatever, like immortalized a little bit in a way. Anyone can go back and watch it, but you only get one shot, so it's like you can't screw it up.
I want to talk about the Wonder era. I guess last year you guys weren't able to tour as much as like you guys probably would want to. What was it like kind of performing for no crowd and just like having that residency show and everything?
It was interesting, but I mean, in a way, it wasn't too different from doing some of the promo stuff that we'd done before. I mean, like, it didn't feel like we were playing a show as much as it felt like we were doing like a video shoot. You know what I mean? Like there were like, there were like 30 people there just operating cameras. Like the camera setup was like insane. There were cranes and like this one on like a big track and like all kinds of wild stuff. So it didn't feel so much like a gig, like you're on stage and here's the audience. It was more so like, this is like a self-contained shoot and we're going to get some great takes of these couple songs. So in that way, it wasn't too different from some things that we've done. But I mean, of course, we all really want to just be on the stage playing the songs for thousands of people. That's always the most rewarding thing. So I wish that we had been able do that. And of course we will when the time comes. But yeah, I think we all miss that element of it quite a bit.
What songs are you sort of looking forward to performing live again once, I guess, everything goes back to normal?
I'm trying to think of new ones. I really like playing, Always Been You. Call My Friends is like one of my favorite ones from the new album. So I really hope that makes it into the set. And then, some of the old like classic ones, like playing like Treat You Better is so fun. And like, no matter how many times we've done it, I always want to just do it again.
Is that the one song that when you're like on tour, you like always jam out to, no matter what?
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. That one, Particular Taste, has always been super fun for me. I haven't thought about this in a while. They all, I don't know. They're all wonderful in their own ways, of course.
That's amazing. I always end off the podcast with an open discussion about how music sort of impacts you in your own personal way. How do you think music has kind of changed your life or influenced it in its own way?
Wow.
It's not an easy question. You gotta.
It's a big question. That's like a philosophical question.
It is. It's open discussion. Go for it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to imagine my life without it. It's like it's sort of just, in a way, it's what I kind of think about all day. Like what I was saying before, like me and my wife are like just like singing silly songs around the house about anything, like about the dinner we're cooking. Like we'll just make up like stupid songs and sing, and then we'll like harmonize and like look at each other and be like, like that was good. That was a good one. Like that was a good, like, it's super silly, but also like it is music. Like I do think of it that way. And it's just sort of always in my mind. I'm always sort of thinking about music or listening or trying to create music. So I don't know. I guess it's a really big thing for me, but it's also been that way for so long that I don't think about it too much. And I also can't imagine not having that in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think it has ever gotten you through like super tough times? Have you used it as like an emotional vehicle in that sense?
Yeah, of course. I mean, listening to a certain song when you're in a certain mood. I think everybody kind of does that, right? It's like it can really take you up, or it can bring you down when you need to come down, or it can just sort of help you reflect, maybe if you need to reflect. Yeah, I mean, definitely there's that. And playing too, I mean, can just be so sort of therapeutic and relaxing, and can really, you can just like turn off everything else and just sort of get in that zone. That's how it is for me.
Totally. And you mentioned that you were creating some music. Do you think you feel or like you take away different things from music when you're creating it versus when you're performing it or just playing it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like it's a fully different experience. And when you're creating, you get to slow everything down and just focus on like one tiny detail, for as long as you want, as long as you've got the time. It's like I'll spend an hour just like working on like one tiny little section, or like thinking about how one chord progression should go or whatever. And I guess that for me, there's something sort of meditative about that, or it's sort of just, it's so engrossing that I can just get lost in it, which feels really good. Whereas performing is different. I mean, it's like, you're going from point A to point B, and that's it. You get one shot, and you got to do it. You do it one way, and then that it's in the past. So yeah, I mean, I think I get pretty different things out of those two things.
That's so cool. Okay, I'll wrap it up with one question. What are your top 3 songs at the moment, or songs that have gotten you through moments?
Oh man, I was really hoping you wouldn't ask me that. No, I'm joking. That's cool. But like, that's always the question that gets me. I was talking to my wife just before I started recording this. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, like I'm ready to do this podcast. And I was like, what question always trips me out is, what are you listening to right now? And then I thought about it, and I didn't even think of a good answer, because I don't know what it is, but as soon as I get asked that, I just blank. But that's like a totally legit query. What am I listening to? I got really into I don't know if I can give you a top 3 specific songs, I'm sorry, but I got really into just like old like 70s stuff over the
Nice.
past couple weeks, like like Carole King Tapestry. I don't know if you've heard that album, but it's just like so incredible top to bottom. It's like one of those classics.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, like just old good old like 70s like kind of like rock and folk and stuff like that. So I was listening to a lot of that. What else? I listened to like that new Bruno Mars Anderson .Paak song. Have you
Yeah.
checked that out?
I haven't yet. I keep seeing it. I've got to check it out after this.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype for sure. I mean, that's for me, those two guys are just like some of the greatest artists around right now. I just think that musically they're just like so on a level that's amazing. So I was so excited when I saw that they were collaborating together. So yeah, other than that, I can't think of anything. I'm sorry that you asked Mike. I'm sorry I wasn't prepared for that question. And even though I like consciously thought about it.
That's all right. Oh my God. Thank you so much for coming and chatting on the show.
Yeah, of course.
That was Dave Haskett on the Hangout.